Continue to erase and distort Black history in Florida schools. But many activists at the grassroots are pushing back. Last week, Florida's Education Board said it was plowing ahead with social studies curriculum that talks about how African Americans learned useful skills from slavery, even as the state bans books and so-called critical race theory. Joining me now is Jennifer Jenkins, the chair of the new PAC, Educated We Stand, and Florida School Board 3rd District's Democratic member. Thank you for joining me today. Let me go right to it. I've been following the situation in the Sunshine State closely in my capacity as the head of the National Action Network. I've traveled there to demonstrate against the erasing of Black history. Can you talk about the current state of our schools in Florida?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, just watching the recent comments of Congressman Byron Donalds, it's disturbing, but not surprising coming from the state of Florida. You know, I live in Brevard County, the home of a civil rights leader, Harry T. Moore. He was an educator who fought for equal pay for Black teachers. He founded our first chapter of our NAACP, and he registered over 100,000 African Americans to vote. And because of that activism, he was fired and stripped of his teaching license and was brutally murdered alongside his wife in their home on Christmas Day by the KKK. So when politicians like Mr. Donald say things like Black families were overwhelmingly voting conservatively during Jim Crow, they were actually overwhelmingly still fighting for their right to vote. This was a horrific and shameful time in our history. It institutionalized economic, educational, and social disadvantages for most African Americans. And when we have elected officials who actively campaign on whitewashed revisionist history, they're telling us they don't want to just stop at rewriting our history books. They're aiming to ensure we relive the darkest parts of it. And that's why I founded Educated We Stand, to fight back against this extreme agenda that we're seeing here in the state of Florida.
Now, your PAC, Educated We Stand, is recruiting and electing school board members that will help limit the influence of extremism in education. You also unseated a Moms for Liberty co-founder in a contentious school board. Why is this so important to fight this issue on a local level?
It's so important to me. I am a mom and an educator, and I'm married to a teacher. It's why I ran for school board in the first place. And, you know, Educated We Stand draws inspiration from leaders like yourself on how to organize and mobilize when there's a call to action. Rev, I was in the crowd as you stood on the steps of the Capitol in Tallahassee during the Red for Ed movement, the year I actually filed to run for school board. And after I defeated the founder of Moms for Liberty in my race, we became ground zero for a national trend of an ideological takeover of public education by far-right extremists. And unfortunately, this isn't just in the state of Florida. We're seeing this in all 50 states. And I felt compelled to organize the opposition because, make no mistake about it, the future of public education and the foundation of our democracy is on the ballot this November.
Now, we've talked about the important work your organization is doing at the district level, and obviously there's an important presidential election going on that will determine the larger direction of our country. How do you make sure that you can continue to help parents and concerned citizens take back school boards from extremists, regardless of who is sitting in the White House or the State House for that matter?
I think it's really important for there to be an organization to be able to combat the disinformation and misinformation that is continuously being put out by not only Republicans, but groups like Moms for Liberty. You know, Educated We Stand prides itself on true civic education, not far-right indoctrination. And Florida Republicans are doing everything in their power to continuously undermine voters, undermine students and parents who reject their extremism, and more specifically, to undermine communities of color. So we need to do our best to educate voters on who is that pro-public education candidate, even those soon-to-be voters, about the dangers of limiting voting access and learning from our history so we don't allow Florida Republicans to repeat it.
Jennifer Jenkins, thank you for being with us. Up next, and out.